It's much more kind of rock and roll. It's much more of a band.
He wrote songs that made the world believe in love. Now, he's gone. Glen Hansard wasn't just a musician, he was a poet who turned heartbreak into hope, a storyteller who made strangers feel like they weren't alone. His music was the soundtrack to first dates, late-night drives, and moments of quiet reflection. He made us believe that love was worth fighting for. But behind the songs, behind the Oscar, behind the standing ovations, there was a man who carried his own weight. A man who struggled with depression, anxiety, and the weight of his own expectations. Now, at just 56 years old, he's gone. We're left with questions. What really happened to Glen Hansard? Who was the man behind the guitar? And why does his music still feel like it's speaking directly to us? This isn't just a news story. This is a tribute to a voice that defined a generation. Official confirmation. On the 30th of July 2026, the music world was shaken by devastating news. Glen Hansard, the legendary Irish singer, songwriter, and frontman of The Frames, passed away at the age of 56. His death was confirmed by his family in a statement. It is with profound sadness that we announce the passing of our beloved Glen. He died peacefully at his home in Dublin, surrounded by his family and loved ones. His music, his spirit, and his love will live on forever. The cause of death has not been publicly disclosed. The family has requested privacy during this difficult time. News of his passing sent shockwaves through the global music community. Fellow musicians, fans, and friends have taken to social media to express their grief and share their memories. A spokesperson for his record label said, "Glen was a once-in-a-generation talent. His music touched millions of lives. He will be deeply missed." The family has asked that donations be made to Focus Ireland, a charity Glen supported throughout his life. This is a devastating loss for the music world. But Glen's legacy will live on through his music, what he was working on before his passing. In the months leading up to his death, Glen Hansard was more active than ever. Just weeks before his passing, he had announced a new album project with The Frames. Sources close to the production say he had been in the studio recording new material as recently as June 2026. The album, reportedly a collaboration with Lisa Hannigan and other Irish musicians, was rumored to be a return to his folk roots and scheduled for release in early 2027. In addition to the album, Glen had been booked for several European festivals and was in discussions for a small, intimate tour of Irish venues for later this year. In a statement obtained by the Irish Times from a studio engineer, Glen was described as full of excitement and in great spirits, laughing and working on new material that felt like some of his best work in years. His final social media post, dated the 15th of June 2026, read, "Back in the studio with the lads. Feels like coming home. Music is where I belong." No one expected this sudden departure. His work on the new material was reportedly nearly complete, leading many to wonder whether his label will release the album posthumously. The Dublin boy who dreamed of music. Glen Hansard was born on the 21st of April 1970 in Dublin, Ireland. He grew up in the Ballymun area, a working-class neighborhood on the north side of the city. His mother was a teacher, and his father was a builder. The family struggled financially, but they always supported Glen's passion for music. At 13, he dropped out of school and began busking on Dublin's Grafton Street. He was inspired by the punk and folk scenes of the 1980s. It was on Grafton Street that he discovered his voice. He said, "Busking taught me everything I needed to know about performing. You have to win over a crowd that has no reason to stop and listen." In 1990, he formed The Frames with his friend Colm Mac Con Eomer. The band quickly gained a reputation for their powerful live performances and Hansard's raw, emotional songwriting. The Frames released their debut album, Another Love Song, in 1991. It earned them critical acclaim and a loyal fan base. Over the years, they released several more albums, including Fitzcarraldo, 1996, and Dance the Devil, 1999. But Hansard's biggest moment was still ahead. The Oscar win, how falling slowly changed everything. In 2006, Glen Hansard starred in the independent Irish film Once, directed by John Carney. He co-starred with Czech musician Markéta Erglova. The film was a low-budget love story about two struggling musicians in Dublin. The film was made for just €130,000. It went on to gross over $23 million worldwide, a massive success for an independent film. The film won the Audience Award at the Sundance Film Festival. Hansard and Urglova wrote and performed the film's soundtrack, including the iconic song Falling Slowly. At the 2008 Academy Awards, Falling Slowly won the Oscar for Best Original Song. Hansard said, "We made this film on a shoestring budget. To be standing here now, holding an Oscar, it's a dream I never thought would come true." The song became a global hit and is still considered one of the greatest love songs of the 21st century. A career of heartfelt music. Following the success of Once, Glen Hansard's career reached new heights. He formed the Swell season with Marketa Urglova, releasing the album Strict Joy in 2009. He also released several solo albums, including Rhythm and Repose, 2012, Didn't He Ramble, 2015, and This Wild Willing, 2018. He collaborated with artists like Eddie Vedder, Patti Smith, and Bruce Springsteen. He also continued to tour and perform with The Frames, releasing new music and captivating audiences around the world. His music was known for its raw, emotional honesty and powerful storytelling. He was also a passionate activist, speaking out on issues such as homelessness, poverty, and inequality. The struggles behind the spotlight. Behind the success and the critical acclaim, Glen Hansard faced his own personal struggles. He was open about his battles with depression and anxiety. He often used his music as a way to process his emotions. He said, "Music has always been my therapy. It's how I make sense of the world." He also struggled with the pressures of fame and the demands of the music industry. He often spoke about the importance of staying grounded and true to himself. Despite these challenges, he remained dedicated to his craft and continued to create music that resonated with fans around the world. Family and personal life. Glen Hansard was a devoted father and partner. He had a long-term relationship with Marketa Urglova, his co-star in Once and bandmate in the Swell season. They were together for several years, but eventually separated. He later had a daughter with his partner. He was a dedicated father who often spoke about the joy of parenthood. He said, "Being a father has changed me in ways I never expected. It's given me a new perspective on life." His family was the center of his life, and he was deeply loved by them. Net worth and lifestyle. So, how much was Glen Hansard worth? Glen Hansard's estimated net worth at the time of his death was approximately $8 million. His wealth came from his music career with The Frames, the Swell season, and as a solo artist, album sales and streaming royalties, live performances and tours, the success of Once and the Oscar-winning song Falling Slowly, licensing deals for films and television. He lived a comfortable life, dedicated to his craft and his family. His true wealth is not in his bank account, but in the legacy of music he has created. His legacy. Glen Hansard's legacy is one of honesty, artistry, and authenticity. He was a songwriter who turned pain into beauty, a performer who gave his all to every show, a man who stayed true to himself in an industry built on pretense. He once said, "Music is about connection. It's about telling the truth." And he did exactly that. His music will continue to inspire generations of musicians and fans alike. The music world reacts. When news of Glen Hansard's death broke, tributes poured in from across the music world. Eddie Vedder wrote, "Glen was a true artist and a beautiful soul. His music touched so many lives. Rest in peace, my friend." Patti Smith wrote, "Glen was a poet and a warrior. His music was a gift to the world." Bruce Springsteen wrote, "Glen was one of the most authentic and talented musicians I ever had the pleasure of working with. He will be deeply missed." Fans also paid tribute. One wrote, "His music saved my life. I will never forget him." Another said, "Rest in peace, Glen. Your voice will never be forgotten." His final years. In his final years, Glen Hansard continued to create and perform. He remained active in the music community, collaborating with other artists and performing at festivals around the world. He also spent time with his family, who were his greatest joy. His final years were filled with music, creativity, and the love of his fans. He passed away on the 30th of July 2026, leaving behind a legacy that will never be forgotten. What the news didn't tell you about Glen Hansard. He was a mentor to younger musicians, always willing to share his knowledge and experience. He was also a passionate advocate for the homeless, often using his platform to raise awareness. He was known for his generosity and kindness, often giving his time and money to those in need. He was also a devoted father who often spoke about the joy of watching his daughter grow up. These are the stories that don't make the headlines but define who he truly was. Tribute. Glen Hansard died on the 30th of July 2026. He was 56 years old. His cause of death has not been publicly disclosed, but his legacy is not defined by how he died. He was a poet of the people, an artist who turned pain into beauty, a voice that inspired generations. He once said, "Music is about connection. It's about telling the truth." And he did exactly that. Glen Hansard may have left this world, but his music will live forever. Rest in peace, Glen. If this tribute touched your heart, please like, subscribe, and share your favorite Glen Hansard song in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.